Welcome back. Yes, Sapna, you were saying, ma'am, something about the remaining unopinionated something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was wondering whether remaining unopinionated is also equivalent to remaining detached from or whatever is happening. When we talk about good or bad, there seems to be some event happening, and then our opinions about it, and then there are feelings and emotions attached to it, and accordingly, that affects our physiology, our psychology, our every mind, body, spirit aspect of it.
Yes.
So, this whole I wouldn't call it a trap because it's a choice. But there are things that are like pain or grief or bad food for matter, if you go into the physics and the biochemistry and the psychological part of it. So, what is good and what is bad? That undeniably bad is what something that is painful in every aspect. That the truth of bad being bad or something being bad, I want to explore that. And the truth of being good. How does one, discern between them?
Yes.
Because something like I said before, something that is bad for me or I term as bad, someone else might term as good. And they might be pretty well happy with it. And when I label things, that is where the conflict comes in me as well as in the environment and in the other person or the event too. So this is almost like, being attached or being detached. That is what I've understood of good or bad. Things just are. Isn't that the truth?
Yes. 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 So here, one aspect is that being detached or being unopinionated is a
Hmm.
byproduct in the process. If it becomes an instruction or a goal, then it's another vicious cycle that we end up creating for us. That's another trap of following a goal of being detached. Unless
Okay.
unless this happens on its own spontaneously, it's actually no different than being attached. We may end up faking detachment. We are actually attached to the goal of being detached. So that also we'll explore actually
Okay. So
when.
it's like the desire of no desire kind of a thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when we understand the spontaneity, and when we are aligned with the truth, then whatever is happening on its own, that is what is the structural aspect. That is what is the designated aspect. If we understand that, then the opinions of good and bad become so irrelevant. You know,
Hmm.
if it is designed to happen, it is happening. Whether we call it as a good or bad, that's a very narrow area actually to explore,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Okay.
Hmm. Now, a little understanding about the energy before we go into the conditional aspect and the trap of mind. Uh, the
I
understanding of
wanted
energy.
to
Yeah.
explore, for someone where the reception itself is partial, and therefore the interpretation starts right at the reception at the sense organs. Then, how does one come upon the understanding that it is partial and not the whole of it, what one is
See,
sensing?
uh, if I'm understanding correct, then you are saying that somebody is having some inadequate uh, perceptory capability, receptory capability. Are you saying that?
No, as in, for any human being, the fact is that what we even receive through our senses is partial. And I mean, not partial in the sense that there is incapability, but the mammoothness of the truth itself, we are just able to capture just a small portion of it.
Yes,
So that way, partial.
yes.
But how does one come upon this understanding? Because for that, whatever I'm receiving and what I'm perceiving is all partial. So seeing partial as partial, and how does that understanding come about that this is not the whole of the thing? Because at the experiential level, it may be. Um, so when will that dawn
It's
upon the
actually not
individual?
needed. It's actually not needed, but it becomes needed when we are considering otherwise. Are you able to comprehend this?
Can you
Yes,
rephrase?
yes, yes. So we are having a window through which we are seeing the things, receiving the things through our sensory organs. Now, if we are responding according to our response reception without any influence of the mind, as is if we are responding, then there is no requirement of considering this reception as limited and all those stories. The moment we start considering otherwise means the reception that we are having right now, if we start considering that as the whole, that actually needs this understanding of the partial exploration, partial reception. Are you able to comprehend? No.
I'm getting your point. Just wondering that how would it dawn upon an individual that
No, for that actually we need to understand how it dawn upon an individual to consider this as whole.
so first the blocking before even
Yes, yes.
the
So
understanding of
the
the
very
fact.
premise of the blocking is the intention, is the choice. It
So the
starts
first
there.
condition itself is that I'm considering whatever, I mean, I don't know what is partial, what is whole,
Yeah.
but what my experience is, I'm terming it as the whole. That itself is that
Yes,
conditioning.
yes. So that has a reference already of
Hmm.
considering a part as whole. Then it's an undoing that we are trying to explore, perhaps, that are we able to understand that this is a part? Why at all we started considering this as whole?
Yeah.
Like the other day we were discussing that the old age cannot be escaped. This was a statement. For others, actually, Anita, Sapna, we were trying to understand this statement that the nobody can escape old age. Now, the very premise or the foundation of this particular statement is that old age is a negative thing, isn't it?
Why should it be a negative thing?
Now, when we are proposing that nobody can escape old age,
Okay. Mhm.
that has got a foundation that people must try escaping old age. Why? Are you able to go deeper
Yeah, yeah,
into
yeah,
this?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the same way, what Binal asked is that how people will realize that it is a partial reception of truth. It's not the whole. Before that, actually, we start considering that our partial reception is the whole. What is the reference point of that?
Yeah, getting it.
So that way we'll go deeper, like on this referential aspect, because that's very important to understand when our perception gets stationary, gets stagnated. Right. So Shilpi, you want to say something?
No,
You're
sorry,
un-
by mistake it's on.
mute.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, energy. Now, before going forward, we must look at the facts of energy, whether we understand. So this is not a jargon of physics that we are going ahead with. Though we'll mention the physics definition of energy as the capability to work is considered as energy, but that's very basic understanding. It's not a very deep jargon that we would go ahead with. So the what we are trying to explore is the existential executions and the correlation of energy. Now, energy is primarily realized with the tiredness. It's very basic. There cannot be anyone who doesn't sense tiredness. It's the primary energy experience, experiencing tiredness. And so is the experiencing enthusiasm, which could be a psychological aspect, but it could be a physical aspect as well. Now, if we experience tiredness, so what kind of tiredness are we talking about? Suppose there is a high-rise building, we prefer to opt elevator. Let's not go ahead in exploring the aspect of carbon footprint of uses of elevator, or healthier aspect of climbing a stair. Those knowledges, if we keep aside, then it's a very natural response of individual to conserve energy. This is very basic aspect of existence. Everything is constructed, everything is structured to conserve energy. Now, similarly, we try to find out the shortcut to reach some destination when we search for Google Map or something like that. So these are few examples that we identify tiredness, and we always look forward to conserve energy. That's what is the deeper physics level proposal also, that everything in nature are constructed and designed to conserve energy. And that's why the existence is existing. Existence will not exist if that is not structured to conserve energy, because energy is only the thing which is actually within a boundary. When it exists, then only the existence exists. It's a very correlated aspect. Now, when we are trying to conserve, or when we are experiencing tiredness, that leads us to the understanding that it is to be conserved. That means it is limited somewhere. If it is unlimited, then there would have not been any requirement of conservation. So the basic point that we are trying to bring here on the table is the energy that we have is limited. It is not something unlimited and we can just skip conservation eternally. So we have to conserve and keep on conserving, because the energy that we have is limited. This point is very much important to understand, because the energy is the key of any kind of work that we may execute. It could be a blinking of eyes, talking, digesting, walking, running, thinking, anything. So energy is needed to execute any kind of work. Now, where it is executed, it has roughly 3 domains. So these 3 domains are for our better understanding, but these 3 domains are not discretely available. It's very interconnected in certain ways. What are those domains? What are those domains that, if we can explore, then we find that these are 3 domains: P1, P2, P3, physical, physiological, and psychological. This is very interesting and important in this workshop, actually, this P1, P2, P3, because we will keep on using these terms repeatedly for better understanding of our psychological space. Now, P1 is physical. It's very physical and commonly available, and it's aligned with the truth, in fact, because, yeah, Jyoti ji.
So actually, can you shortly summarize what is done in this session? Because just now I joined, there was network issue.
Yeah, there was no much discussion, because as we understand that you are repeating the workshop, so nothing is missed so far. This P1, P2, P3 explanations are just introduced. So yeah, and otherwise the recordings are always available within half an hour of this morning session. You'll get the recording link. So just in case
Okay.
you want, right?
Can you repeat this P1, P2, P3 in short?
Yes, it's just started. It's just started. Yeah, don't worry.
Okay.
So P1, P2, P3 are the 3 domains of existence in which the energy operates. Now, what are these? How to understand, how to comprehend? So P1 is the physical domain. P2 is the physiological domain. And P3 is the psychological domain. So all are P, that's why P1, P2, P3. Now, what is P1? P1 is the point where, or the domain where an organism interacts with the external world. It's a point of reception, rather. So for human being, it's a light, sound, smell, taste, and touch received through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. We receive light, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So that's the physical aspect. And the light, sound, smell, taste, and touch are available commonly for everyone. And all the entities, all the individual human organism do have, unless there is some inadequacy, special or some exceptional inadequacy, have got these 5 doors to receive light, sound, smell, taste, and touch, which are eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Now, after we receive these 5 information, let's call those as information: light, sound, smell, taste, and touch. There is some changes in the chemistry. So, for example, light, if it is a source of light that we are trying to look at, we will experience some irritation, and we'll actually keep it away, and we'll move away from looking at the source of light. But if we are looking at the tree, suppose, it's very soothing. It is acceptable. It's not irritating. So we cannot look at the sun, but we can look at the tree. Why? Because there is a chemical change that happens when we receive the particular uh, ray of light. The intensity of ray of light actually brings irritation, and if it is opaque, if it is reflected, then our eyes are very comfortable. So our chemistry responds in such a way whether to continue with that reception or not. Whether to continue with that reception or not. This is very important understanding. So feeling good, feeling bad, sensing good leads us to accept the reception. So sensing good is a change in the chemistry which is favorable in nature. Can we understand this? So sensing good is a change in the chemistry which is favorable in nature. We end up calling it as pleasure. So this is also called the voice of the organism. The physiological sensation is also called as the voice of the organism, which actually lead us to respond to the external reception. And this is a very spontaneous, natural aspect. When we receive something from outside, our chemistry changes, and chemistry changes sometimes favorably, sometimes unfavorably. So sensing bad is that unfavorable change where we end up rejecting the reception. And both happens to conserve energy. Both happens to conserve energy. So when we accept the reception, which is bringing a good sensation, we end up conserving energy. And when we reject or don't accept the reception, which is bringing a bad sensation, also end up conserving energy. If we do reverse, if we suppose need something and we are sensing a good sensation, but we don't continue receiving it. So in terms of food, this is very easily understandable. When we are hungry, we start eating, suppose a bunch of banana is there. The first banana is very pleasurable. And we are sensing that we must go for the next banana. But if we are not going, then that will actually lead us to depletion of energy. But if we are going, when it is indicated through the chemistry of the body, then it is a conservation of energy. This way, after suppose 6-7
Sir, not able to get it. Please again.
Yes. Suppose you are hungry and you picked up a bunch of bananas, and the first banana is very pleasurable. You are sensing very good about it. Now, this is actually pushing you from inside, go for another, because still the hunger is there. Hunger is not yet satiated. Now, if you stop there, this will lead you to energy depletion because you have not satiated your hunger. So the internal chemistry is indicating you to go for satiation, but you are denying that. That's a compromise in the energy conservation, and energy gets depleted. Are you able to comprehend?
Yes, sir. It means, sir, if after eating 3-4 bananas, my body is satisfied, but I want another banana. And if I eat that banana, then also there is a
No, how could you understand your body is satisfied? how you are arriving
like
at this
after
point.
eating after eating 3-4 bananas, my stomach is full. But मन जो बोलते हैं, if I then also I feel to eat one more banana कि just go कि I feel like कि how
No, you
I
will
want
not
to
be able
eat,
to
but my
eat.
body
Na?
doesn't want to eat.
If your body doesn't
So sometimes
need
like
it.
overeat होता है ना, we call it as a overeating.
हाँ, तो ओवर ईटिंग के पीछे का कारण समझना पड़ेगा। ओवर ईटिंग का पीछे का कारण तभी पॉसिबल है जब आप मॉडिफाई कर रहे हो टेस्ट को। बिना टेस्ट का मॉडिफिकेशन के आप ओवर ईट कर ही नहीं सकते हो। आप कर ही नहीं सकते हो, उल्टी कर दोगे।
So sir, it means in fruits if we can't overeat the fruits.
Yes, you cannot. One cannot eat
Okay, sir.
fruit more if the hunger is satiated. If it is not satiated,
Okay,
then
sir.
it's something else.
Okay, sir.
So now what example that we are going ahead with is that if suppose 7th banana, 6th banana is satiating, now 7th banana is painful. There's no change in the first banana and the 7th banana. It's the ingredients are same. So here we can understand that the pleasure and pain doesn't reside outside. It is in the chemistry of the body. The 7th banana is painful now. Now we can bluff this sensation of pain with some kind of enhancement of taste. Suppose वो 7th banana we convert it into smoothie. We modify it, we enhance the taste somehow. Then we actually bluff ourselves and we end up eating that. And that's again is not conservation. So sensing a pain is also towards the conservation. Sensing a pleasure is also towards the conservation. These are the guides of life. These are the guides of life which actually guide us for conserving energy or not conserving energy. Ultimately, we are structured to conserve. So pain or pleasure both actually guide us whenever there is a chance of overconsumption of energy. Right? Yeah. Any point? Anyone at this point? Jyoti actually again is trying to enter. Yeah. Now coming to the P3. P3 basically is psychological domain. Now, where we perceive the sensation, we cannot perceive the reception. This is very important understanding. We cannot perceive the reception, we can only perceive the sensation. Are you able to comprehend this, Anita, Sapna?
No, sir, I don't understand.
From what I understood is,
Yeah.
we can only perceive the sensation as in the sensation of whatever 5 aspects of senses, and the reception as in the reception by the body.
Yes.
In what sense? I am a little confused about that.
Yeah, so the light, sound, smell, taste, and touch are the basic receptions that happens through the sensor or sense organs. Now, when we perceive, we do not perceive light, sound, smell, taste, and touch. We cannot. We conventionally we end up calling that we are perceiving outside world, but we cannot perceive outside world. Perception is a psychological phenomena which is actually towards the sensation within the chemistry of the body. So
are you saying that the perception of the same, like you said, like I was asking, good or bad?
yeah,
Again, that a light, that like supposing, for example, white light in the evening, I absolutely hate it. Like my body absolutely rejects it. My psychology rejects it. And I want soft, soothing yellow lights or something, and my husband likes white light. So the perception or the acceptance also comes in play, right? Or is it the physical or in the psychological aspects of the reception that come into play here?
Yeah,
I hope
here
I'm
in this particular example that you mentioned, there could be a psychological reference through which you both are operating. You know, it may not be the bodily rejection. It may be, we'll explore that. It may be
Mhm.
your psychological stagnation towards the yellow light, and it may be a psychological stagnation towards the white light through which
Okay.
your husband might be operating. So we'll explore that. I'm just suspecting that it may not be a physical response, it's a psychological response that that is operating in this particular example.
Okay,
Right?
then I will also have to explore the difference between the physical and the
Yes,
psychological.
that's the primary aspect of this workshop, to understand where we get
Okay.
confused with the physical experience and the psychological experience.
Okay.
Right?
Thank
So
Yeah.
yeah. Jyoti, if we revisit this, like the psychological perception is something which happens towards the sensation only, which happens towards our physiological response of the body. We cannot perceive the outside reception, which happens at the sensory gateway, sensory pathway. That the light, when we receive, then we understand the light in reference to the sensation that happens within the body. Then we understand that we cannot look at the sun. We can look at a tree, but we cannot look at the sun. This particular perception, this is called perception. This particular decisive thing, that we cannot look at the sun, we can look at tree. This is called perception. Now, this perception is always based on the chemistry of the body, the chemical response of the body. Are you able to comprehend now, Jyoti, somewhat?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the corresponding executions, we are using the term, but let's definitely understand. In the physical domain, whatever happens, we end up calling that as action. In the physical domain, whatever happens, we end up calling that as action. That's basically the reception of light, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Light, sound, smell, taste, and touch, and the combination of that through our sensory organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. So P1 is basically physical action, and P2 is the physiological sensation, the change in the chemistry of the body. Change in the chemistry of the body is the P2, which is sensation. So from action or the reception, it is the sensation. Now, sensation, and then P3 is psychological perception. Psychological perception. Here the awareness, here the understanding, all these actually happens in this domain. Psychological perception. So the third execution is the perception. So first was action, then sensation, then perception. P1, P2, P3. Physical action, physiological sensation, and psychological perception. Now, what is the natural sequence? How these three are connected? We had been discussing this, but let's meticulously pick up an example and understand. So suppose we are experiencing fire, the same fire which you already observed in previous slide. So the first time we are touching fire. First time in life we are touching fire. That's a physical action. where the fire touches the skin. So now there is a sensation of burning that is happening. There is a sensation of burning that is, and this is in sequence. The sensation cannot happen unless the fire is touched in natural order, natural sequence. So the sensation happens, there is a burning sensation. Now, the moment the burning sensation happens, there is an understanding. There is an awareness. Okay, this is hotter than the normal. The normal things, when we touch, there is no burning sensation. Now the burning sensation is there. So this is somewhat hotter than the normal. Now with this awareness, there is a new physical action. There's a new physical action where we meticulously use fire without touching it, perhaps. So there is a change in the action because of the perception. There is a change in the action because of the perception. Now, quickly, before we end for this session, the order, these are action, sensation from action, perception from sensation, and then new action from perception. P1 to P2, P2 to P3, then P3 to P1. This is a cyclic order kind of relation. P1, P2, P3, P1, P2, P3, and so on. So we keep on improving our action with our perception. And perception comes from the sensation, and sensation comes from the reception of the action. Right? So let's take a 5 minutes break and come up with our observation, reflection, and continuation of our conversation. Thank you.